Heyo, it's OMNIDOG here with an overview and review of DC vs. Vampires Volume 1, Volume 2, and DC vs. Vampires All Out War Part 1 and Part 2. So, first of all, promo, organic price books, $2 off with code OMNIDOG. Big savings, 5% off, shipping 3 or more books together with code OMNIDOG. Ship it together. Right on. Okay, so I have read all these, and it's kind of a guilty pleasure. I I didn't really think I was going to get into this, but Lou from Omnibros recommended DC versus Vampires to me, and it's really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So let's take a look. Let me see. Let me put these guys over here. We'll take a look at the first one. And I have bookmarks so I don't spoil anything. And some things may get spoiled anyway, but what am I going to do? I'm trying my best here. So there's the grizzly underneath the dust jacket. So, yeah, it's pretty much a straight up vampire story. DC heroes get bitten and vampirized, and it's them versus the world. Let's see. Let me do a little bit better job. Okay, so you don't really know. Here's why I'm trying not to spoil anything. You don't know who to trust in this very first book, because some heroes have been turned into vampires and some have not. And the art is really glorious. This is the first 2 books are by Tiny Onion and Matthew Rosenberg, so they're very well written. The art is really well done, and the color palette is, of course, cool. So this deals with a lot of even more than tertiary characters in DC. We get a lot of C and D level heroes and villains involved in these books, especially when we get to All Out War. But it's a lot of fun. Just for a vampire story, you think it's already all been said, but this deals with a lot of backstabbing, not knowing who to trust, high stakes. What's the ultimate goal of the vampires? Who can we trust? Like I said, who can't we trust? There are real stakes here. Stakes. Because, whoops, there's a spoiler. Well, if you read it, you're going to find out. There's a lot. It's strictly action. This is like a popcorn book, like a popcorn movie during the summer. This is like a popcorn book where it's well written. It's got great art. It's vampires, and you don't know who to trust. And what happens to the survivors, the humanity, the people still that the people still who are the humans who are being kept for like feedstock, and the superheroes left who are trying to save what little they can of humanity that's left. And I don't, let's see. Yeah, this is still volume 1. And it's quite possible I'll be giving things away that I haven't had bookmarked, but I'm trying to talk you into reading this, and it's excellent reading that's really fun. So I highly recommend these first 2 books. Let's see, I'm coming up on a spoiler page, so let's just skip it. Okay, and actually the rest of that is spoilery too, so let's skip that. And that's DC vs. Vampires 1. And here's volume 2. Those of you who read it. This is actually a really cool plastic man. underneath the dust jacket cover. So this is a continuation of the series DC versus Vampires. So as you can see, it's a lot of action, killing. One of the interesting things is how all the extra characters that you would think of as C&D characters are brought in, and the creative ways they try to defeat the vampires and keep themselves alive. Constantine, spoiler alert, he plays a big part in trying to save everyone. So we've got Batgirl, Supergirl. Harley plays a big part in this, and she's pretty funny because it turns out she needs rescuing from this lab because her blood makes her impervious to vampire bites. And some bad guys are experimenting on her. She gets rescued, and they get Frankenstein back on their side. And it's a lot of fun. Let's see, there's some big, actually, there's so many spoilers coming up that I should probably just skip this. That's a cool cover. As far as back matter goes, there's pretty much just alternate variant covers, which is cool because there were a lot of variant covers for these. So I highly recommend reading, even though you may not have thought, and I didn't even think, DC versus Vampires would be that anything I was interested in. It turns out to be a lot of fun, and so I highly recommend these two books. Now, if you want to continue, now this thing ends on cliffhanger, Volume 2 does, and it does not get resolved in All Out War Part 1 and 2. That is more, these are more backstories, kind of. Fill-in stories. I can't show you the first story because that's a big spoiler if you haven't read it yet. But then the main story is told through the two books with Deathstroke, Damage, Blue Devil, and it's told in this really cool black, white, and blood type colors. And Azrael's in it, all kinds, and it's, they're out trying to do their bit. And this is well written too. Wait, who's written this? I already took the dust jacket off. Didn't I? No, I didn't. Matthew Rosenberg and then Alex Packnadell write these. There's a main story. Here, we can take this off because that's a cool cover. There's a main story, and then there are a bunch of fill-in stories or just extra stories. So I enjoyed these main stories actually a lot more than I thought I would. Let's see, All Out War, is anything spoiled here? No, it's told in this type of thing. And Constantine shows up as an astral projection type thing in a lot of these, where he's helping to lead these other teams trying to save humanity and trying to stop the vampires. Looks like a big spoiler's coming up. No, I can show a little bit more of this. Yeah, Baron Cinder is in charge of Florida. And so we see a lot of Baron Cinder. And actually, this is really a really cool part with Batwoman that I enjoy. I enjoyed a lot this part. They're trying to rescue Starfire because part of the problem is they've turned the world dark, like no sun can shine through, so that any non-vampiric superheroes that need the sun have difficulty. So they need Starfire to help light up the sky. Short story long. And it's all, even Bane's on this team. So this is actually a well constructed story throughout volumes 1 and 2. And I don't want to get to that spoiler part, but then okay, and I can't get to that last story here because that's a big spoiler. So we'll just stop here with this. And it's done really well. I enjoyed this too, and I enjoyed the beginning story, the beginning and ending stories. Let's see, they were called, DC Vampire Hunters was the first story, and then Dark Birth was the last story. And they have, let's see, Matthew Rosenberg wrote Hunters, and Emma Viacelli wrote Dark Birth. Now, I will say, there's one thing that's kind of weird, and that is James Gordon, Detective Gordon in this. The timeline, the timelines don't exactly match up in all these books. I don't know if they drew it up on purpose like that. I have a feeling they kind of got lost track with so many cooks in the kitchen, but just roll with it because James Gordon gets killed in about 3 different ways and the timelines are kind of goofy. So, I mean, you know, you're not reading Dostoevsky here. You're reading a popcorn comic book. So keep that in mind. This is All Out War Part 2. There's Mary Shazam. Her real name's Mary Marvel. Now that's a cool cover. I think that's James Stokoe's work. This is All Out War Part 2, which has, let me go to the, okay, so Killers, All Out War, yeah, let's see. Okay, so we start right away here. There's the question. Oh, this reminds me. Here's Midnighter. If you are familiar with characters from the Authority, Midnighter and Apollo and Jack Hawksmoor and Jenny Sparks appear in this Part 2. If you're not familiar with them, you should be, because Authority is one of my favorite books from DC that has been ever in the ever history of ever. I love the Authority, but you can also just give them a quick Wikipedia to find out who they are. Jack Hawksmoor and Jenny Sparks have their own story in this book, and it's a very good story, so you'll at least want to know who they are. Okay, so there's Starfire, and if I called her something else, I feel like I may not have called her Starfire. Did I call her Starfire? Okay, it's Starfire they wanted to rescue. So, Mary Shazam and Deathstroke are really awesome leaders of this story, and actually it's the most interesting I've found Mary Shazam ever to be, and Deathstroke's really cool too. But yeah, Mary Shazam is one of the lead characters. I know her real name's Mary Marvel, but I'm having to go with what DC's doing. And here's Midnighter again. But this is probably the best Mary Shazam story I've read. It's really, really good. So we continue with this. And it leads to different places. They've got to unfreeze Captain Cold because they need him, and he's not happy about it. They're trying everything they can. There's Lazarus pits involved. Okay, wait, I don't want to give this part away. Okay, this is one of the extra stories with Black Lightning, and this uses a different color palette. But Lazarus pits are involved, and Talia Shire's in there, and of course Damien's in there. But there's all kinds of different components in these books that actually really make them interesting and make them work. Okay, let's see. Okay, there's the Jack Hawksmoor story with Jenny Sparks, and I wanted to skip that because it gives away a major spoiler for the whole story. And the last story is a Harley Quinn one. There's James Gordon again. Don't just try and go for it. But this is a good Harley Quinn story. She of the Amazing Blood. And this is the backstory on how she got that. And so this, you find out now how she got it, which is referenced back in like volume 1. So that helps bring you up to date. And if you're mixed up, I was mixed up too. But then once you read these stories, you'll figure it out. There's also a Poison Ivy story in here. And these books were enjoyable, and I dug them. So give them a try. I think that you'll be happily surprised like I was. Oh, bookmark, Organic Price Books. And so peace and love. And I hope this was not too mixed up and convoluted for you, but the main message is these are a lot of fun and worth your time. Time is precious. Yeah, just like money, our reading time is precious. So peace and love, peace and love.